Hi, it's Kareem from Keeper's Nursery. Today is the 26th of September 2025. Finally got my camera working. So today I'm going to make another video about pears on this lovely sort of kind of gloomy looking Friday morning. I did actually make this video yesterday. Well, I made some of it yesterday. It was a lovely sunny afternoon. It was way too gusty and windy and the sound quality was awful, so we're doing it again. But that's okay. So what I do on these videos is, generally speaking, I'll riff them anyway, so you've probably heard a lot of what I say if you watch my videos, but I, generally speaking, find the videos useful for essentially documenting the different types of, the vast range of varieties that we've got here. So in the nursery we've got probably over 100 varieties of pears, so this video is focused on pears. I'll generally give an opinion of, you can obviously see what the pears look like. I'll generally give an opinion on how I assess the pears. Now the interesting thing about pears is usually, so we're sort of, I've already done a summer pear video. This is sort of the early mid-season pears. Now usually speaking, I've grown up here my entire life. Pears are tricky beasts. They are some of the most wonderful flavored things on the planet, and growing them here, there is, I strongly believe that the pears that I've grown here are, better than anything that anyone can actually, any chef can actually produce. That is I believe very factually correct. There is just, well, okay, fine, it's my opinion, but you cannot produce the texture and the flavor and the experience of eating a perfectly ripe pear anywhere. And this is what people knew back in the Victorian times. So Victorian times were over 100 years ago. So we had Queen Victoria in England, Victoria and Albert famously. She was a queen for quite a long time. So this was something that was known. Obviously pears, most of them come from the continent. So in France, where the weather's slightly warmer, whilst in England people were sort of tinkering with their apples and it was all fancy apples and stuff, pears, that was the height of dessert perfection. That's why they're called dessert apples, dessert pears. That's better than anything anyone can produce, and the gardener was just producing that. And you basically, with pears, the tricky thing is you don't get a large window of when to eat the pear. It's a bit like, plums and summer fruits and things. If you eat a strawberry, you want to eat it straight off the strawberry plant. I don't know what they're called, but pears, you look at them on the tree, maybe they look to, okay, they're green, they're not ripe. So basically with these pears here, these are Concord pears, you can sort of see, this is me trying to teach people how to pick pears. This one is sort of green and lifeless. This one has suddenly got a bit of a glow about it. That means that that's almost ripe. I mean, obviously Concord's a bad example for this because Concord has a lengthy sort of picking time. It's sort of more of a domesticated pear, a commercial pear, which is forgivable. You can pick the pear at a certain stage like that, and it's basically quite a hard pear. So hard pears are different to the soft pears, but you could pick this and it's sweet. It doesn't ever sort of reach a particularly high peak of flavor and texture, but that is sort of signaling I'm ready to pick. Now with other varieties of pears, I mean this one here, so is a great example. When something gets damaged, when fruit gets damaged, the bees have been, actually bees, not wasps, but bees have been ripping this apart. When they ripen, when they're damaged, they ripen much sooner. So when you want to pick a pear, the problem is some pears, usually if you wait until they look like they're ripe, that gives you about, a day to eat the pear. So generally speaking, a lot of later season pears, you have to pick them at a slightly too early stage and store them in the house to ripen in the house, because you won't get away with them on the tree because they'll also go brown from the inside. So it's tricky business. This year, now, everything is early this year. It has been a fantastic summer in terms of the trees growing. That's actually what I'm interested in. But the fruit's been very good this year. Everyone's had lots of fruit set. There wasn't any the pear midge that completely ruins everything in the spring. useful. But interestingly, this year a lot of pears are actually ripening perfectly on the tree, which I've lived here my entire life, and that is not something that I mean, I've not looked out for it before, and I've certainly eaten pears off the tree and thought that's great, but the last few years certainly you couldn't just pick pears off the tree, and I think it is quite unusual to have this access to ripe pears straight off the tree without doing any sort of legwork, is in picking them early, identifying when to pick them, picking them early, taking them in the house, storing them. So something like a commis I will, because commis isn't ready yet. Commis is probably the nicest pear in the world. I will start storing those in the house and ripening them in the house, but we're still sort of getting away with it right now, maybe because the weather's more continental. I'm not sure, but this isn't the norm, and I'm sure everyone in Britain hasn't had the same experience. So I will begin with the video. All this waffling, as I said, I've done this video a few times. Well, I have actually done this video a few times already and sort of abandoned it, but I will start showing pears. Thank you. So, pears. Well, first one here, we've got Concord. I think I called it the wrong thing earlier. So again, picking something slightly riper. It is very similar to a conference. It is a highly productive pear. I will probably take all of these to the school at some stage. Again, it's slightly commercial in that it's quite a robust pear. That's really the only types of pears that are ever going to make it into the commercial world, because they're not just going to turn to mush. No one's going to buy a pear, however good it is, if you sort of say, oh, well, 2 days ago this was amazing and now it's mushy. And the commercial world doesn't work like that, unfortunately. So it's crisp and sweet. It is nice. It does need to ripen a little bit more. But I think if you like the sort of conference type pear, this is slightly more interesting. Conference is just sweeter. This one maybe has something else going for it, but in general, those aren't the best pears. Surprise, surprise. This is Berkeley. It's an attractive pear. It's not going to be ripe, so I'm not going to pick this one, but it is a beautiful pear. Moving on, so Highland is interesting. Highland is going to be ripe, slightly ripe. An interesting russet type. These ones are sort of misshapen. Slightly nicer flavor than the Concord that we just tried. This one would benefit from ripening a little bit in the house to get softer. I believe it will, texture wise, I don't think it will ever get to the melting stage, but I might take some of these in the house later to try them. So this is an interesting one, Seckle, this little thing. So you do get these little pears, and these are actually ripe. So small little juicy things. Tastes actually a bit like whiskey. Very oaky whiskey notes to it. An absolutely gorgeous tasting thing, but a relatively shallow flavor. So there is an initial burst of flavor. I am being a little bit harsh. It's because it hasn't got the acidity to sort of carry through. But it's a lovely, lovely flavor, and it's a lovely little treat. So that's Seckle. This next big boy is called Onward. Onward is a very nice pear. I'm not going to eat it. It isn't ripe at all yet, but these are quite a robust pear. They're reliable. You can pick these and store these a bit like a commis, and they will ripen and be lovely. This next one is Beurre Super Fin. Quite an odd looking sort of stalk on this. Goodness. This is ripe. You can tell it's ripe. It is singing off the tree. It is so bright, it wants to be picked. So I will pick it. So slightly on the more acidic side. The texture is good. It is, because it is a beurre, So it's supposed to be buttery. It is buttery, but it's not as buttery as some of the best buttery ones. So it's a soft pear. I think the experience of eating this, if you cut it, is much nicer. The skin is tougher than some of the other buttery pears, which is good for storage, but not so good for the experience because it takes away from the actual soft flesh. Yeah, the flesh itself is fantastic. The skin is a tiny bit tougher. I mean, this is, I might not be smiling, but I'm trying to sort of rate it. It is very good. It's not the very, very best, but it is a very nice pear. And as you saw, I just picked it off the tree and ate it. So this is the kind of pear I'll just give to one of my children, and they love something soft and they will just devour this. So the juice is very, very good. So that is one to try. Vicar of Winkfield, this is a cooking pear, so I'm not going to eat this. Feels like quite a dense block of wood. Chaumontel, these are not ripe. Goodness gracious me, that is not a particularly attractive looking pear. It was on the Channel Islands they used to grow this. I'm not sure I'm not going to try it. I'm not sure exactly if that's the perfect example of one. Josephine de Malines, this isn't ripe either, but it's a nice looking thing. So you also get the lovely pear foliage in the autumn time. So down here we've got improved fertility. So there were some on the floor as well. Now these are on, now once something goes on the floor, it is ripe. Lovely color to this. It really does sort of stand out as a beautiful pear, a bit like a Burr Hardy, possibly a nicer shape than a Burr Hardy in my opinion. Let's try it. Very fruity. It's a sort of polite pear. Not overly strong in terms of flavor, but very sort of tutti frutti in flavor. The skin kind of does that thing where it's sort of quite acidic and goes into your teeth. So sets your teeth off in a weird way. All right pear, I'd say. Passé Crescent is not ripe. That is a Passé Crescent. I mean, not even very pear-shaped. Nouveau Poitiers, this is quite a distinct looking pear because of this little bit up here. Down here, if you turned it the right way, that's nowhere near ripe. This is Cadillac. This is a lovely cooking pear, lovely big thing, so we pickle these in our house. Doyen Boussoc is this one. Yeah, it's quite a big blocky thing. I mean, people do eat this one. I feel like this would be one nice to cut, but I will eat it anyway. So this is sort of a crispy pear. I prefer the buttery ones. Slightly flavorless and acidic. Overall, this is not the kind of pear I like, but some people obviously like it. It is an attractive large thing, but I don't know. I'm not drawn to that. So this here is probably the best pear right now. There aren't many left, unfortunately, because I've picked most of them. This is Fondant d'Automne. This doesn't feel ripe. So this is this one here? Yeah, but that's not ripe either. So Fondant d'Automne is probably the nicest pear at this time of the year. This should be a more yellow color, but I've literally stripped the tree of all of them, and my son would eat multiple ones each evening. He'd ask for soft pears for pudding and just eat pear after pear after pear. So trust me, that is exceptional. It is like fondant, and it is the perfect flavor. That is one of the pears I would say is better than anything that any chef could produce. And I'm sorry to chefs, but you know, come here and try to outperform that pear. You won't be able to. This is Forel. This isn't going to be ripe either, but it's quite an attractive little thing. I believe it's quite a crisp one as well. Okay, so that's not even remotely ripe, but yeah, later in the year I've tried those and they're crisp. Duchess Angoulême, I really like this pear as well. It's not remotely ripe, but it's a nice big large one. Again, treat that like a commies. So this is a red commies. Generally speaking, I've said this before, don't get the red versions. The red sports of any, so there's a red Williams and a red commies, and there's I think a few other red ones. They are all massively inferior. Packham's Triumph, so that's not ripe either, but that is, I think, has some sort of I've seen these in the shops, so it has some sort of commercial use. This is a very, very nice pear. So I've done lots of these in the previous videos, but this is a great example. It just looks like, this is Durando. So when it's ripe, you get the lovely red leaves, and it does look like sort of banged out copper in its texture. It is a crisp pear. I actually like this pear in terms of, even though it's a crisp one, which is slightly acidic, I think this is a top pear. One of the old boys, Jack, who's a farmer around here, I mean, he must be like 90 now. He remembers back in the day they used to grow a few Durandos. So I think it must have had its sort of commercial heyday as well. This tree here is William. Well, these two trees here are Williams. Williams is an exceptional early season pear. You should grow at Williams. Olivier de Serre, Double de Guerre. These are ones that are not ripe. So here again, you can sort of see this pear suddenly is singing to me. It's glowing. So we're going to try this one. Bloody big old, that is a big lump of pear. So this is Doyen Blanc. So it's the white Doyen. It is quite a sort of bright pear. It's a two-hander really. So it's soft. It's not juicy enough. It's a bit of a dry soft. A nice flavour to it, but it should be juicier and it should have a tiny bit more acidity. Sorry to be harsh, Doyen. So this is Bristol Cross. I like Bristol Cross. It is a good, so there you go, there's some good examples of it. It's a good version of a conference. I mean, I'll try some on the floor that will be riper. I mean, if you sold this as a conference to someone, they probably wouldn't know the difference. Yeah, I like it, you know, as a sort of pleasant enough pear. It's got slightly more oomph to it than a conference, because it's not just sweet. It's got interesting acidity and flavors to it. So that's Bristol Cross. Bure Bedford. Bedford's also quite nice. I dare say it's not quite right, but I could try one of these things. I don't think it's going to be remotely ripe yet, but it's looking good. Bure Bedford is good. Comte de Lamy. These are okay. So these ones up here are ripe actually. Comte de Lamy. So again, you can see when they go slightly yellow, they are ripe. Yeah, that is very ripe now. Juicy and buttery. Let me try the less ripe one. Oh, that one's actually better because it hasn't lost its acidity yet. So it's Comte de Lamy. Nice little guy. Haken's Incomparable. So that is softening on the tree actually. So we can try that one as well. So many of these pears usually I'd have to store, which is a faff if you want to sort of produce a video for this, because you've got to store multiple ones, because you know stuff does go wrong when you store pears as well, where you didn't realize they had a little nick on them, and okay, so they've gone completely brown. So anyway, Hakon's Incomparable. This is quite fun. That's a weird pear. That is killing my my gums. It's getting right in the gums. No, the flavor is interesting, but it does that thing where it goes into your gums and makes your gums feel weird. This is Beurre Bosque. Beurre Bosque is a fantastic pear. It isn't ripe yet, so I'm not going to pick it, but there is a good crop on it. I think it is one of the best pears because eventually it does sort of soften. Generally speaking, they are usually more russeted as opposed to looking like this. But the lovely, lovely, lovely pear. This one is Louis Bon of Jersey. Yeah, we produce a lot of these. I'm not overly... Okay, so these are Beurre Bosques on the floor. I'm not overly convinced by Louis Bon of Jersey. Do I pick one? Yeah, okay. Put that one up there. See what it's doing right now. There are some on the floor, but they've all rolled. Actually, there are some on the floor. I'll get those in a sec. Maybe I'm being harsh. It's got a slightly herby flavour to it. But other than that, the skin is... So the reason I usually don't like it is because it's got this sort of tougher skin. But now this is ripe, the skin is a little bit softer. Well, it's you know, it's more... You can get through the skin more easily. And the herby flavour is nice, and it is juicy and sweet. So it's got quite a lot of the top attributes to it. Yeah, I can see why someone would think this is a very nice pear. It doesn't compare to the very best, but it is actually, it's up there. It's almost perfect, I'd say, actually. So I have been harsh with Louis Bon of Jersey. I retract what I said earlier. It's a very nice pear. It's not as good as Commies. Pitmas and Duchess, big pear. Sort of a dual purpose type thing, which I think means they don't really know what it does, but it's big. Canal Red, I'm not going to try that. That is too big, and I'm not a huge fan of the big red ones. Beurre d'Anjou, that's not ripe either. That's a very late season pear. This is one of the Caucasus. I think this is Black Worcester. Yeah, this is Black Worcester pear. This is a very dark pear, especially today with the lights a bit low. It does look very, very blacky. Uverdale Saint-Germain. This is a late one again. This is Roosevelt. So I think this is ripe because it was basically lodged onto the tree. No. That's awful. Santa Claus, that's a late one as well. We're rattling through these. Winter Nellis. Okay, so this one's very famous. This one is Beurre Hardy. So Beurre Hardy... Yeah, fine, we'll just pick this one. So Beurre Hardy's quite one of the best pears at this time of the year as well. It is slightly more acidic than the very best ones like the Fondant d'Automne or something like a Gourmet, but it has ripened on the tree quite well this year, and I keep selling out of them because apparently Monty Dunn talks about them. That is an exceptionally good pear. It's not the best. Sorry, that is very, very good. Very nice, especially if you cut the pear up. Extremely buttery, with a slight bit of bite to it. Wonderful, wonderful flavor, lovely and sweet. That is the kind of pear that if you produce that for someone, I think it... Yeah, this is the kind of... I was going to say, I think it has slightly stronger skin, so it doesn't sort of blemish as easily as some of the others. But I mean, this is the kind of sort of showpiece pear that I think, you can't produce something nicer than, but it isn't even the best pear. Beurre Hardy, very good. Everyone knows this pear. This is a conference, so A ripe conference, I don't know if these are ripe, they might be ripe now. A ripe conference should actually glow as well. Generally speaking, in the shops, the conferences will look more like this though, in terms of their color, or like this. That's what the stage that people pick them at. It's not because farmers are stupid, that's because you have to pick them at that stage so they can last a year in storage. But generally speaking, the conferences do go soft and juicy. But it's got a very unusual, just highly sweet flavor to it. Even slightly tasting a bit artificial, but it is nice. But the highly sweet flavors don't carry very far, so you get an initial sort of aroma and burst of sugar, and then it sort of fades away in your mouth. It doesn't really go anywhere. But yeah, try a ripe conference if you can. They're okay. Where it's overcropped, they're quite small. This is more like the usual conference size, not this. These trees here, these are commises, so these aren't ripe yet, but these are pure gold when they're ripe. These are lovely, lovely, lovely things, and I will pick those and store them. There's a few fallen off the tree, but they're definitely not ripe. Blickling. Okay, Bon de Beugny is actually ripening now. I tried this before, and it's a sort of, has a tiny bit of crisp to it, but the ease it comes off the tree tells you it is ripening. So this is still a relatively crisp pear. It has something about it which is very enjoyable. It's not soft, it's not buttery, but the actual flavor, the juice, it's relatively juicy. The flavor itself is, I don't know, it's a bit like a, I mean, it tastes a little bit like a sort of soft drink or something that I can't identify, but is just a pleasant flavor to have. I very much like this. I think the flavor is bang on. The texture is interesting because it is quite crispy, not an apple, but it is, it's sort of crispy, but it melts. It's unusual. There is something about this pear which I enjoy the experience of eating without possibly, it's not like it's not like the Beurre Hardy. It is very good though in a completely different way. So try it if you can. That's Bon de Beugny. Soleil d'automne. These are ripe now. They're all over the floor. Let's try one of these ripe ones off the floor. Gosh, they're pretty heavy things. Okay, let's try this one. Tastes a bit of banana to begin with. That's interesting. It tastes very much like a lovely, lovely perry. Again, I would cut this up and give it to the kids, and they will just destroy this. This is very nice Soleil d'automne. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have. So these won't be ripe. The ones on the tree won't be ripe. This is the color you want when it's ripe, but it's just fallen off the tree and it's perfectly ripe. Yeah, that's a lovely, lovely sort of creamy flesh. Beurre Alexander Lucas. This isn't going to be ripe yet, but it's an attractive enough one. So Bergamot d'Esperen, I think these are ripe as well. Lovely sort of russeted looking thing. Wow, that really melts. That is probably one of the juiciest pears. It just turns to water in your mouth. Lovely flavor, not enough acidity for my liking. Right at the end you can even taste the skin as opposed to the flesh. But the initial burst of juice, yeah, and the skin you have to chew a little bit. The initial burst of juice is amazing. Wow, you have to take a gulp because there's so much liquid. So next one, Bell 6. You can tell this isn't ripe at all. This is rock hard. This is Belle Julie. Belle Julie is... Oh, it's fallen off the tree. It's not going to be ripe, I don't believe. But this is a really, really good pear later in the year when it is ripe. But that is... I will try it, but it's going to be... I mean, it's actually got quite dense skin, like thick skin. The flavour's coming on, but it's not ready yet. I love this pear as well. This is Belle Guérandaise. I don't know, it's not going to be ready yet. I will just pick one and try it just for the sake of the video, because I might not make another one of these this year. So it's got a few blemishes on, a few battle scars. But actually, I'll pick the one off the floor. Ooh, this might be ripe. Oh, no, but it is a very good pear. Poor thing. So here are some medlars and quinces, which we randomly have amongst the pear trees. Similar sort of looking after regime, I guess. Maintenance regime. Good word, that. So that's why they're there. Beurre mortillet. This is probably alright to eat, actually. Yep, make sure you pick it with the part of the tree attached to it. No, so it's sort of dense. I felt it. It was softening, but no, not quite ready. This is Thompson's. So this is sort of singing to me, especially these. Look at these. These are, well, those were very ripe. Literally fell off the tree as I touched them. This is Thompson's. That is very dry. Sorry, that's a bit rude of me, but that's a really weird one. Let me try a different one and see if they're all this dry. This is much better. Yeah, lovely flavour to that. Sort of the conference type flavour, but very dry. No, it's not a nice texture. Doyen Georges Boucher. These are probably riper at the top. This one in the sun. Nice small pear. So, I mean, you might have been watching this and pears look like pears. They're not like the apples where you get the different colours. They're just pear looking. They're not going to be different colours apart from the red ones, which are actually pretty bad. No, that. What do they do with this pear? Oof, it has nothing going for it. Tastes like ash. This is the Plymouth pear, which is quite a famous, rare, sort of native tree here. You just don't eat it. It's not nice, but it exists. Beurre d'Iel. This looks all right, actually. So Beurre d'Iel. I mean, you can tell it's right. Look at all those ones on the floor. Texture is amazing. It just melts in your mouth. Doesn't quite have enough sugar. The acidity is there. If it just had some sugar, this would be sublime. But I don't know, I might go into breeding pears one day if I could be bothered and try it and have a go at improving some of these, because they're almost there. This is Merton Pride, which is a really good pear. Okay, I'm just going to pick this one, which doesn't really look like the best example of it. It's probably all right, actually. I basically stripped this tree and ate them all. This is a really good pear. Oh my goodness gracious me. That, I'm going to eat the whole thing. That is unbelievable. And yeah, I did actually strip the entire tree of the pears. So it's slightly So in terms of texture, it is 11 out of 10. It is so buttery and melts in my mouth. So way more so than the Bear Hardy. And the Bear Hardy is really, really good, but this is even better. This is very similar to the Fondant d'Automne. The flavor is literally perfection, like perfect pear flavor. Nothing strange about it. It's just, oh my goodness. This is what I mean when you cannot cook anything that tastes as good as this. It is, you know, if you have this and you offer this to someone, and quite honestly, if they don't think this is perfection, they're pretty thick, in my opinion. This is unbelievable. It's quite sad. This is the last of the year, but wowie, wowie, wowie. And I mean, if this was actually available for people to buy at this level of ripeness, charge them whatever, mate, because the experience of eating this is better than anything they're going to experience of eating. Wow. Okay, well, I'm going to hold on to this whilst doing the rest of the video so I can enjoy this at the end. But yeah, that's Merton Pride. Merton, there was Merton's like in London. Basically, there was a nursery there. It is related to John Innes, which is the soil guy. If you're well, the John Innes, you can buy John Innes sort of soils, as not soils really. They're sort of composts. That's what they're famous for. That's what their name is famous for in Britain right now. But yeah, there are lots of Merton cherries. There's a few Merton apples, and there are these Merton pears. And generally speaking, high quality. If it's got Merton in the name, I'm not going to say it's the best, but it's good. So yeah, that's very good. Merton Pride. There you go. And even if you want, there you go. The label is there. Merton Pride. There you go. So Abbé Fatel, this isn't ripe yet. Not going to bother with that. Beurre, no, that's Beurre de Nagin. I mean, it's not ready. Look at that. Look at that crazy thing. Look at this giant thing. This is Beurre Gris d'Hiver. So that means like a grey winter buttery thing. Obviously not ripe. Here are some peri pears. Should we try peri pear and see what it is? So I think this one's brandy, which is obviously not brandy. That's too ripe. This one I think is thorn. So thorn is really unpleasant to eat as well. Oh, another Merton pear. So this is Merton Star, which is ripe as well. We're going to pick that one because that looks even better. Make sure you take half the tree off when you pick your pears. They're looking a bit funny and they're nice and soft. So let's see. This is very similar to it's got that classic conference shape to it. That's a bit too ripe. Let's pick a different one. So this one isn't. The other one actually felt soft off the tree. Yeah, I felt it's more conferencey, quite flavourless to be honest. So go for Pride, not Star. That's Bishop's Thumb. That is an old pear. President Barbary is again another late season pear. Verbalou, that's a summer pear. Pear Nobile, that's a summer pear as well. Marie Louis. Some of these are going to be right. Definitely that one is. So we can try this one. This is sort of looking all funny. That's why it's ripened before its brethren. Now that is marzipan-y flavour, but that is a lovely, lovely texture. Lovely and sweet. Lovely buttery. It genuinely tastes like marzipan, so I will take some of these in the house so my wife can eat because she goes crazy for marzipan. Yeah, very, very marzipan almondy. And I've just said that to 2 other times, but it is exactly marzipan flavour. So that was Marie Louise. Zéphyrin Grégoire, nope. Beurre d'Aubusson. Look at that, that just looks like the most unripe pear on the planet. Le Lecture. I don't like these slippery, smooth skin, snaky looking things. Someone out there does, but I just find them kind of... They look like naked, shaved, like the dogs that don't have the fur on. Nope, no thanks. This one here, this is Eva Baltet. Eva Baltet. I doubt any of these are ripe. That came off the tree really easily, so maybe it is. It's got a little mouth on it. It should draw 2 little eyes here. Hello. Eva Baltet. No, not ripe. Next one is, this one is ripe. This is Marguerite Marguerite Marliat. Okay, so this one is going to be way too ripe. Let's pick this one. This one is the ripe one that's not gone crazy. Skin's a bit too thick, but it is buttery and juicy, but the flavour is quite shallow as well. Let me just try a different one. Okay, that one looks cool. So this one is sweeter because you can tell the one down there lacked the colour. The skin is still a bit thick. There are better ones than this, but it is good. It's good, but not favourite. It could have more acidity and slightly more flavour. So it's quite a shallow flavour. But really, really buttery and nice. Quite a nice thing to actually get into and eat. It's quite a nice size and I think very pretty. Very, very pretty. This one is called Swan's Egg because of how much like a swan's egg it looks like. Although I doubt swan's eggs are all different sizes. So this one here, this is Gourmet. And it's weird because I find it difficult to pronounce the word Gourmet. I don't know if it's Gourmet or Gourmet. I think probably Gourmet. In no way is it a dual purpose pear. Don't be mad. I feel bad that there are so many of these on the floor. This has been one of the best pears. Oh, look at that one of the year. This may be better than the Merton Pride. Yeah, Merton Pride, not Merton Star. This is a really good pear. It might have gone from the inside, which I'll show you in a sec, but this is exceptional, and this is the kind of pear I chop up for my son as well, who just destroys 2 of these after dinner. It melts. Initially it's got a lovely perfume flavour, and then there's an acidic kick to it, which is again a balanced kick, but absolutely perfect. I'd say it's on par with the Merton Pride I ate today. Merton Pride was really, really good. This is really, really good as well. It's just so buttery. Yeah, and that second kick of acidity is so... It just comes and just... It improves it for some reason. A lot of fruit doesn't do that. It actually comes out of nowhere. Yeah, it just comes out of nowhere. I think it's because the initial juice is quite sweet. So once you swallow down some of the initial juice, the flesh is slightly more acidic. So when you're left with the flesh, it's a more interesting experience after that as well. That's really good. So Gourmet pears, and they ripen very easily on the tree. I mean, maybe not every year, but this has been one of the best pears of the year by a mile. There was one down here called Syrin as well, which was really good, but that's one that I didn't really think much of before because I've got too many pears, too many kids, so I'm still learning every year. We've learned a lot with the cherries this year. Cherries have been great. Now these slightly different looking leaves, so this is, that's a great example of it. So pear leaves versus what people call nashies or Asian pears. So you get these serrated leaves. So slightly different plant actually. This is the best one. Shinsui is by far the best Asian pear. And this tree was actually ripped apart by the badgers. That's why it sort of stops. That is by far the best Asian pear that I sell. I only have about 4 of them, but Shinsui is the best. Shinseki, so a very similar word as this. Shinsui and Shinseki are very similar shapes. They're sort of, well, that's a weird looking one actually. Quite sort of round shaped things, not pear shaped at all. The Shinsui is completely rusted and golden, and you pick it in late August time or throughout August if you want, and it gets destroyed by the bees and the wasps because it's so sweet. The Shinseki is quite pretty. It lasts a long time on the tree. It is improving now actually, but it just doesn't have enough sweetness to go through, so it kind of becomes quite watery and bland, which is a shame. I'm sure there are loads of other better Asian pears. It's not a big market in this country, although I always sell out of the Asian pears because obviously there are lots of keen gardeners who are from the Far East, who, or even British, you know, ethnically, but who are just keen on Asian pears. I recommend the Shinsui to anyone, but yeah, I mean, we do always quickly sell out of them, which is, I should make more of them, but yeah, I don't really think about that when I'm actually producing trees. I should do more research. This is Invincible, so this is one of the only trademark varieties. Yeah, this is a commercial pear. It's not nearly ready yet, even though it's falling off the tree. Look at those leaves, they're lovely. So this was Syrian. Syrian was really good. So next door to Syrian, this is one that look at all those on the floor. I sort of discovered a few years ago and really liked, but it's quite a hard one to get right on the tree. This is Magyar Kobak, so it's Hungarian. It's probably the nicest sweet pear flavour, where it's not really acidic, perfectly balanced. I just find it tricky to get one that's completely ripe, because they go hard, and they start hard, they slightly soften at some stage, but some years they don't even get to that. This one, because it's completely golden, might be ripe. Yeah, okay, that's actually perfection. Wow. The flavor and the sweetness of this is unbelievable. The texture is unbelievable. I mean, I'm not going to mark it down because it doesn't have acidity, because I know it's not supposed to have acidity, because the sweetness is one of this, it's like that perfect, what do you call it? What are those grapes? Muscati, yeah, muscati flavors. It is amazing. So this is what I had a few years ago. Oh my goodness. And I remember talking on I answered the phone one day, and it was Joan Morgan, who was at the time writing, this is when I was quite a bit younger, in my early 20s, and she was writing the pear book. So she'd written, you know, the apple book. I forget the exact title of it, but it is probably the most famous modern apple book, where she's sort of, I mean, you should read it. And I was on the phone with her, and she was talking about the pear book, and she wanted to talk to my dad. She didn't want to talk to me, but she was really, really kind, and we chatted, and I was saying, oh, I really like Magyar Kobak, and so it's a very left field choice, but it's because that year I'd been picking these and they'd been exceptional. And you know, it's one of those things, like, it's probably maybe not her favorite pear, but then again, she's not got examples of every tree. And you know, if you don't come across this pear on the perfect season, it is unremarkable. Right now it is very remarkable. I'm going to sift through the ones on the floor later and take them in the house and wash them up and feed them to the children. Joan's a good friend now. I went to her house on Monday and spent a few hours with her talking about apples as we do. I took her some seedling varieties. So yeah, no, it's off that we've become friends. But that was the first time I spoke to her. I was a bit starstruck. I was like, oh wow, this is the lady who wrote that important book, which very good book. But yeah, Magyar come back. Anyway, that's my sort of funny thing I think about Magyar, because since talking to her, actually, quite a lot of the time I've been like, well, this pear's not very good. I feel like a bit of a dum-dum talking to her about this pear, but I'm sure I'm not going to drive to her house again. It's about an hour away, but if I took her this and was like, yeah, try this, she probably would agree with me. It is very good. Anyway, that's just a little side story. I'm going to keep this in my pocket with the Merton Pride because they're both exceptional. There's not really much else to do down here. Broad Assumption, I mean, that's a teeny one, but they're not. I might have covered that in the other video. Mrs. Seddon doesn't look remotely ripe. Not ripe, not ripe, not ripe. Okay, so Nouveau Celebration. So Nouveau, again, this is a sort of slightly commercial. See that? They're ripe. This is a slightly commercial breeding program locally. I don't quite know what this one's like. I think it's just basically a conference. It's quite a handsome pear, to be honest. That is a good looking pear. Much better than a conference because it's buttery. Its flavour is, so it's a sweet one. Its flavour is actually similar to a conference, but not when the conference was ripe. It's also not as soft. Texture is good, not super duper amazing, but good. Flavour is a bit like more like an unripe conference, where it's sweet but there's nothing else going there. It doesn't have an overly pear flavour to it, but it is pear. It doesn't have acidity at all, but I would say that is a very good pear though. It's sort of not middle of the lane, but it's sort of middle-ish, but it does it well. You know, it's sort of better than middle-ish, but it's not like the star student who's the best at maths and the best at music and the best at acting and the best at sports, but he's good at all of them. You know, this is a solid friend, but not the very best friend. Anyway, yeah, that's Nouveau Celebration. Emmy DeHay, that's the Perry one, I think. Jabulani. Oh, it's just got a weird name, this one. Oh no, sorry, this is Jerry Basma. What on earth, Jabulani? This is Jerry Basma. I don't know what the heck this is. Its leaves are very different. I suspect this is some sort of hybridy monster. I don't think it tastes good either. A really weird flavour to it. Don't buy Jerry Basma. Okay, so I'm done now here. I can't, there are other pears that we have in our collections, but they're all over the show and I can't really, I don't want to eat more pears. So, thanks for watching this painfully long video. I'm sure there's only a few people who actually watch the whole thing. Merton Pride, very good. Magyar Kobak, if it's ripe, very good. Gourmet, exceptionally good. Hardy, exceptionally good. There was a little one at the top which was good as well. I'll have to look back at what that was. Anyway, thanks for watching. I will do more videos. There are still a few more open days to come if you want to come and visit the nursery. We still have trees for sale on our website if you got a space in your garden, but or buy it as a present for Christmas for someone else. Keep this going, keep this nursery going. Don't worry, I'll keep it going without your support. I'm not being rude, it's not on you, it's on me. I'm supposed to make this work. But yeah, thanks very, very much for watching, and hopefully everyone has a good weekend. All right, bye-bye.